My name is Arthur Laffer. I'm an economist. I worked with Ronald Reagan. I was involved with Proposition 13, but probably most famous for my profile, which is called the Laffer curve, which relates tax rates to total revenues and how systems can miss on the forecast. But let me, if I can, talk to you a little bit about state economics, because I've got a book that's coming out very soon. The one chapter, The Fall from Grace, I look at the 11 states that have introduced the income tax over the last 50 plus years. The most amazing thing is that for all these 11 states, and they're normal states, there's Maine, there's Connecticut, there's Rhode Island, there's Pennsylvania, West Virginia, all these states, every single one of them declined as a share of the US economy. Every single one, in population, output, employment, labor force, all of them declined. And they also declined in the provision of public services relative to the rest of the nation. It's an outright catastrophe, and some of them were huge catastrophes like Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. I also have a chapter in this book comparing California and Texas. What is amazing is California has much higher tax rates than Texas. We all know that. But when it goes from tax rates to revenues because of unemployment, because of participation rates, because of people leaving California and moving into Texas, the differences in revenues are much, much smaller than are the differences in tax rates. When you get the spending, the differences are almost non-existent. When you get to the provision of public services, Texas has far better schools, Department of Education NAEP test scores than California. Texas has far better prison situation than does California, far better highways than does. When it comes to the provision of public services, higher tax rates have cost California the public services, not provided them with the public services. California is the example not to follow. Texas is exactly the example to follow. Low tax rates, rapid growth, and good public services. In another chapter of this book I've looked at is the estate tax. Now I know that Texas does not have an estate tax, but Tennessee did. So I did this big study on the estate tax. We have federal tax returns which allow us to look at every single state because you have a federal estate tax. Those states that also have an add-on estate tax, the number of filings per 100,000 population is much, much smaller in those states. Not only are the filings smaller, but the amount of the estate is far, far smaller. You know, states collect almost no revenue whatsoever from their estate taxes, but it causes huge, huge damage to the states involved. The example is never have a high tax rate on a small tax base because you're not going to get the money and you're going to do enormous damage in addition to that. Another one of the chapters, which I call the 9 members of the Brotherhood of the Ring as compared to the 9 Nazgul. I just did that for fun's sake. But what I did was I took the 9 states that have no income tax. I compared it with the 9 states with the highest income tax rates. Amazing, amazing. The 9 states with 0 income taxes kicked the living bejabers out of the 9 states with the highest tax rates. That's in population growth, that's in labor force growth, that's in income growth, and shockingly, tax revenue growth and the provision of public services. Those states with low tax rates have much more rapid growth. They provide jobs instead of creating welfare needs, and they can do better schools, better police, better fire, better highways, all of those things as well. So it's not a trade-off between high tax rates and good services with low tax rates and bad services, just the reverse. Low tax rates and good public services go hand in hand. High tax rates and bad public services also go hand in hand.